Hi, so my name's Joe and I'm a physiotherapist. I work in occupational health, and this is the first of a series of web chats about pain. Now, in my job, as I'm sure you can imagine, I see loads of people who are affected by pain, particularly pain that's been going on for a long time, and it's affecting them in the things that they enjoy doing every day. Now, we're all used to thinking of pain as something to do with an injury. I've strained this muscle, I've twisted my knee, and that's what we as physios we call a mechanical injury. Equally, we know that tissue injuries like this will generally heal quite well in a few weeks, or at most, 2 or 3 months. So, what about pain that carries on for longer than that? Well, the latest thinking is that when pain persists, and usually we call that kind of more than 3 months, unless there's some kind of clear and obvious problem, you've ruptured knee ligament, say, then other factors come into play. And those factors really affect a person's response to pain. All right. And I'll tweet as part of the release of these videos a couple of helpful ways to think about that. And my Twitter is at Joe Loftus Physio. Now, it's these factors that have a massive role to play in persistent pain, and we're a lot less used to thinking about pain in this way. And that's a really big problem because unless these things are recognised and addressed, it can make it really hard to improve or to manage pain that's been going on for a long time. So that's what we'll be looking into over the next 3 or 4 web chats this month. What are the important things that affect pain? What can we do to manage it? Now, I'm really lucky to be joined today by Sharon Dean, who is an occupational therapist. So I'll just let Sharon introduce herself a little bit more first of all.
Hello, I'm Sharon, and as you said, I'm an occupational therapist within the Occupational Health Service. And my role really is to help people look at their normal everyday functioning and normal everyday activities, and look at how they might adapt or change things slightly to make their health and well-being better. So key things in regard to pain are key lifestyle factors are things such as level of activity, your physical activity, perhaps even your level of inactivity as well within normal everyday activities. Also things that may affect pain include things like diet, alcohol intake, medication, and also sometimes things like routines and behaviours that we slip into without realising the impact it could have on the pain. The environment also has an impact on pain, and that's one of the things that I might look at. But one of the key things is the relationship between pain and sleep.
All right, so that's really interesting, Sharon. So you've mentioned sleep there. If we could focus in on that a little bit more, why does sleep affect someone's pain, either kind of positively or negatively?
Primarily because if the body's not resting and recuperating and repairing itself, then it's compounding perhaps the level of pain that what you might experience. And it is very much a vicious circle because people sometimes have difficulty sleeping because of the pain, but then because they're in pain, they're having difficulty sleeping. So it's finding ways of actually trying to improve that cycle for them. It's not necessarily going to sort everything out for them, but it can help with reducing the amount of pain that people experience if they're sleeping better.
Okay, right, that's interesting. So, what if you're talking to someone that might be having problems sleeping, or if you're investigating sleep with someone, what would your sort of top tips be to sleep well?
Okay, so they kind of fall into a few different categories, and perhaps I'll just briefly describe what the categories might be. So the first thing is around the relaxation. So, as everybody will be aware, when we're on full alert, when we're tense muscularly and kind of psychologically, then that increases the amount of pain that we experience. So one of the key things is to try and allow ourselves to relax in relation to sleep. And you can do that in lots of different ways. You might find little activities that you can do prior to sleeping, such as muscle relaxation exercises where you allow your muscles to tense and release, or where you focus on parts of your body and try and imagine warmth and things is going to that spot. There are lots of different ways of relaxing. You might do something like have a warm bath. You might do something that's a relaxing activity for you. You might listen to a bit of music. You might find a nice sleep story. So there's lots of different ways of relaxing, and it's about finding the ways for you to relax prior to going to sleep. The other factor that can help is around distraction. So finding things that stop you focusing on thinking about pain. Some of the things that you could use for distraction are similar to the relaxation activities. So you might find yourself, if you like music or stories, you might look at finding things like that to help you distract your thinking from the amount of pain that you're in. You might also, what I often encourage people to do is develop themselves a little toolbox of activities that they know help them stay away from the thinking about the pain. Things like counting backwards, things like having a nice imaginary place to go to where you find a lot of pleasure and a lot of positiveness. Some sort of sensory activities where you feel how you are in bed, if you're in bed, thinking about feeling what it's like in the bed, how warm it is, what your covers are like, and so on. So there's also lots of ways that you can distract your thinking, and sometimes relaxation and distraction activities can do the same, can achieve the same thing. The other thing that you can do is look at your environmental factors. The place that you sleep needs to be somewhere that is absolutely pleasurable for you. It needs to be somewhere that you feel really good in. So if you find that your bedroom assuming you sleep in a bedroom, becomes untidy or disorganized and you've got a lot of things around, it's really important to actually have a really nice, pleasant environment. So think about tidying things away and organizing things. And then there's also the obvious things such as, how is your bed? How is your duvet? How are your pillows? How are things positioned in the bedroom as well? You know, is there something about, if you're struggling with sleep, changing your physical environment so that you can put things into a place that makes the bedroom feel better for you. There are also other factors within the environmental things, such as, you know, how much light you have coming into the room, what the temperature of the room. We encourage people to have quite a cool bedroom. So, you know, think about not having your heating systems on, think about having your windows open. Think about, as I say, replacing perhaps things that you've had for some time, which you may not be realizing are compounding to that difficulty sleeping. There's also something about you and your routines as well. You know, people inadvertently slip into quite bad habits sometimes. You know, classical examples being, you know, being on technical equipment in bed for a long period. You know, it's known that the lights within that can impact on your natural systems for inducing sleep. So we all produce a natural sleep hormone, usually in the evenings, and some things can affect how much of that hormone we actually produce. Therefore, if we're not producing sufficient amounts, that might impact on your ability to sleep. So think about your habits in regard to sleep. You know, try and establish a fairly standard bedtime getting up time routine. Bed is for sleep and sex only, so no other activities should be happening in bed. If you need to rest or watch television or do something else, stay away from using your bed for doing that. Bed should be completely associated with sleep. And other things to say are, if you find yourself waking up in the night because of the pain, as we're talking about now, the research says if you're awake for more than about 15 minutes, then you need to get up and break the pattern that's happening. So don't lie there tossing and turning and feel, feeling the sensations. Get up and do something that's sedentary for you. So whether that's just having a drink, if you're a reader, reading a book, do it, perhaps listening to a bit of music or a story, do something that's quite sedate for you for a little while until you feel sleepy again, and then go back to bed and try and get back to sleep. It's acknowledged that you will get back to sleep quicker by doing this than tossing and turning in bed. Other things in relation to behaviours, and we mentioned about diet and so on earlier on, you need to watch your diet in terms of protein intake, because it's acknowledged that there are specific amino acids in meat and fish that actually help with the melatonin hormone that helps induce sleep. So particularly if you're a vegetarian, just keep an eye on how much protein you're actually getting, and making sure that you're getting the amino acids that you need in relation to sleep.
All right.
Avoid those unhelpful behaviours such as excessive alcohol, nicotine, recreational drugs prior to sleep, particularly because they are stimulants and they are likely to impact on sleep. Avoid napping as well, particularly during the day, napping and sleeping. So, yes, rest, find your ways of resting, but actually avoid sleeping during the day as much as you can, so that your sleep becomes a much better kind of pattern and behaviour. So, and then my final thing around helping with strategies to do with improving sleep is around the principle of mindfulness. So there's a lot of research that says practicing some very simple, short, easy, quick fix mindfulness activities helps the brain and the body kind of make adjustments in regards to sleep. So we haven't got time to go into all the depth of why that happens today, but you have to kind of go with me when I say mindfulness does help with sleep. So if you're not aware of it, very briefly, mindfulness is about kind of putting yourself into your environment at that point in time and properly experiencing how you feel both kind of internally and how you feel in the environment. And you're trying to do it in a kind of very self-compassionate way. Properly experiencing how you are. And I think how I'd relate it to pain is when you're experiencing pain a lot of the time, you kind of just have an automatic thought on how much pain you're in, and the pain's constant and it's there all the time. Whereas if you think about practicing mindfully, you would be properly thinking about, okay, how is the pain today, right now, at this moment? Where is it? What's the intensity of it? Is it different to how it is other times? And properly kind of trying to experience it, because there's evidence that people with pain have a kind of black and white thoughts around it. So it's pain, it's there all the time, it's persistent, but actually there will be different levels of pain that you're experiencing. And if you can learn to feel the pain through something like mindfulness more accurately, that then might help you to feel less distressed by it,
Okay.
which then helps you to feel less pain.
Brilliant. Right. Very comprehensive discussion about sleep from Sharon here. Thanks so much for that, Sharon. I've never, it never even crossed my mind, not on my horizon at all, about the like protein intake and how that can affect sleep. So that was something I've learned this morning. Thank you very much. Um, and a couple of other points that I found that particularly stood out there, particularly when a lot of people are kind of working from home and might have a desk set up in the corner of their bedroom, thinking about that environment for sleep, that that your work stuff's not intruding on your sleep environment, and you're tidying that away. So kind of particularly pertinent, I think, at this moment in time. And then what you mentioned kind of right at the beginning, that I think you used the word, I scribbled it down, switching off from that kind of full alert of being
Yeah,
awake. And sometimes when you are in pain, that full alert can be kind of heightened somewhat, can't it? And reducing not only kind of relaxing muscles, which can muscle tension can have an impact on pain, can't it? But also if you are tense and kind of full alert, then that can as you mentioned, like amplify one's pain response, can't it? So really interesting there around kind of how pain can be, sorry, how sleep can be protective for against pain, or to kind of help manage it, or at the other end of the spectrum, how kind of poor sleep can be maybe kind of provocative, or kind of increase pain levels, or reduce your ability to manage it well. So really, really interesting. Thank you very much for that, Sharon.
you're welcome.
All right. So thank you very much for watching. I hope that I hope that's been as interesting for you as it has been for me. And from Sharon and I, thank you very much, and goodbye.
Bye.